Please join me in welcoming Alex Gorsky.
Well, thank you very much, Tom, for that kind introduction. Although I'm sure all the WEMBA grads can probably relate to this. I think one of the my first real challenges that I had in endurance to get to this role was probably getting through your class when I was a WEMBA student, not too many years ago. But I, like many of you, would not have made it with Diane Harvey and her help along the way, Rhonda, Kathy Maloney. So I'd like to really ask you to join me in giving them another big round of applause for the great job they do. But I also want to just say how proud I am to be here with all of you, the parents, the families, the friends who have been here to support them through the last several years, because that's no small feat in and of itself. And of course, most importantly, just a real pleasure for me to be able to address all of you, the graduates. And let me start because I think the most important message will always be the first words out of my mouth and probably the last words. The rest of it in between you tend to forget. That all of you have really made a tremendous accomplishment in graduating from the Wharton Executive MBA program. Let's give them a big round of applause. I can't tell you how many people dream about it, how many people talk about it, how many people try to do it, but for whatever reason can't. And in spite of all that was going on in your lives, in spite of all that was going on at work and in other areas, you did it. And you should be really proud, and you're going to be forever better in your life and your career for having made this accomplishment. So again, a big congratulations to all of you. Now, since it was only 17 years ago, I also remember my WEMBA graduation pretty well. In fact, as Tom saw, our son, I think, was 7 years old at the time, and my mother and father were both here, and unfortunately, my mother's passed, although I'm sure she's up there today, the day before Mother's Day, saying, "Alex, pull your shoulders back and make sure you enunciate clearly." And my father, he was here, and he's still very proud, loves to give me advice, and he usually starts every sentence with this line of, "Now let me tell you what you should really be thinking about," kind of like a WEMBA professor. And, everyone in our study group, we were all anxious for the speaker to get done because we were thinking we're going to go to parties afterwards. Maybe we're going to have a few drinks and reminisce. And what I can tell you is that our study group still gets together once a year and does the exact same thing. So I wanted to start that way, not just to reminisce, although that's always fun to do, but to connect with you. Because while it may be hard for you to imagine today, sitting here just kind of thinking about, thank God the last 2 years are done, what you're getting ready for is very exciting, and in fact, I'd say it's probably like a big adventure. It's going to have twists and turns, and you're going to have good starts, you're going to have some false starts, you're going to run, you're going to stumble. And in all cases, the one thing I can say is that things are going to be unpredictable and very interesting. Now, allow me to maybe talk for Johnson & Johnson for just a moment, because it's a pretty important part of my life. It's an organization that I've been with for over half my life. When I came to Wharton, I was a product director, and I remember thinking, how am I ever going to balance work? How am I ever going to get through all this and somehow pull it together? And to be sitting here today as only the 7th CEO of Johnson & Johnson with our 127th year history, as a kid who grew up in Kansas and Michigan, the 4th of 6 children in a very middle-class family, that's a dream come true. And we're a pretty unique company. We have about 128,000 employees working in almost 300 companies around the world in 65 different countries. We participate in the pharmaceutical area, the medical device area, and the consumer area that probably most of you know us from. And I want to get a little participation going here, maybe to keep things going this afternoon. So when I say Johnson's Baby Shampoo and Johnson's Baby Powder, how many in here can smell that? Tom, from marketing, that's pretty good branding, I think, right there. Now, we touch more than a billion people every day with our products. And as the world's largest and broadest based and most diverse healthcare company, I think we've got a pretty unique perspective on the human condition around the world, on wants and needs, on fears and frustrations, which there's a lot of, particularly around healthcare these days, and hopes and dreams of people almost anywhere. Now, certainly one of the most rewarding parts of this job is when I get to meet some of the patients around the world that you talk to. In fact, just this past week, I was in Saigon, in Chue Hospital, that serves about 50 million people in the southern part of Vietnam, over 2,000 patients a day, or they get a chance to talk with someone who's on one of our diabetes products and trying to better manage their condition, or another person who's lost 70 pounds because they participated in one of our wellness programs, or even a mother who is taking some of our HIV medications and is now actually getting to see her children grow up. It's incredibly rewarding. But I know that while healthcare is exciting and it's challenging in many ways, I've got to say for me, it's just to see the impact that it has on people is so meaningful. And I think that's something that you'll find in your careers going forward. But what I want to talk about today, and I'm not going to go on too long, I'm going to try to be candid, authentic, and to the point, is what I'm seeing out there and maybe how it's going to affect your future as things unfold over the next 17 years when maybe one of you will be up here giving the graduation talk for the WEMBA program. And similar to what Tom said, I think there's one dynamic that will be constant in spite of all the other things that are happening, and that is change. And when I go around, that is the main point of dialogue in countries and companies and events around the world. When you think over the next decade, more than 1 billion people are going to join the middle class in the developing markets. We're going to see more people over the age of 65 in the United States, Japan, Germany, than there are under the age of 65 in many cases, or certainly a larger percentage than have ever been before. And we're going to continue to see tremendous advances in technology, and we're likely going to be even more global. And so I think the Wharton experience has taught you a lot of fundamentals. It's really about teaching you to first survive, but thrive, manage, and lead in this fast-changing environment. And I think it's probably not so critical what you've learned, but that you've learned how to learn and developed an even greater appetite to keep learning going forward, because that's what it's going to take. When you think about this unpredictable economic environment that's changing all the time, the geopolitical environment that we live in that's very dynamic, the digital information revolution, which, by the way, I think is going to have probably one of the biggest impacts and most powerful forces for change, it's created this 24/7 spin cycle that we all deal in all the time. And I think Charles Darwin said that it's not the strongest of the species that necessarily survive, but it's those, and not necessarily those who are most intelligent, but it's those who can change and adapt the fastest. And really that's the point of WEMBA, and I hope you'll agree with me as your career unfolds in the coming years. Because you're not going to just have to know the skills and the strategies that you've learned here, but you're going to have to understand those to invent new ones, to be even more creative, more innovative going forward. Now, the business that I happen to participate in, the word innovation is something that you hear all the time, and I'd imagine most CEOs will get up and talk about innovation is very important. And what I can tell you in ours, it is absolutely critical. But it's not just about bringing a new product to market. While that is critical, it's certainly a part of what we do. But it's really using innovation in everything that we do, every customer that we touch, every process that we have in an organization. Nothing can go without changing, without adapting to the environment. And I think you've got to look at your career in pretty much the same way. Are you changing? Are you adapting? Are you stretching? Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fall down. See how quickly you can pick yourself back up. Don't be afraid sometimes to put your career on the line when you have to. It will be worthwhile. Those will be your defining moments where you can make the biggest difference. So have the experiences. Make sure you experiment. Now, I think one other increasing complexity that you're going to face is probably a little bit different than I had, is this level of connectivity that we currently have in our environment. And Now, I think that's clearly a challenge. It's also an upside because you're probably more connected than you ever have been or almost any other generation has been. And I would imagine some of you are sitting there thinking, in addition to, what are we going to do after the thing today, of will I stay friends with the classmates, continue to build on the relationships and the networks that I've done over the last 2 years. And I can assure you, after going through your boot camp, in my case, I can't count the number of godmothers and godfathers that we've been, how many times I had to pick up the phone and, said, hey, Dave, or, hey, Steve, can you help this person get a job here or make a connection there? The networks, the relationships that you build here are invaluable and are certainly something that I'd encourage you to continue. Now, in my study group, and we picked study groups, I think, a little different than this group did when they were here. Basically, they put us into a room with a little bit of beer and wine, and they said, go ahead and pick out 10 other people that you want to have in your study group. So it's kind of like a high school dodgeball, grade school dodgeball game, and you were just really hoping that you weren't going to be that last person that didn't get picked and that would be standing there by yourself. But if I look back on our study group, the one that I had the chance to be a part of, today we have among us the director of the Brooklyn Public Library, the CEO of the University of Southern Florida Health and Dean of the College of Medicine, the President and CEO of Transportation Systems and CEO succession candidate at Honeywell International, the President and CEO of Crossmatch Technologies, the Vice President, Global Commercial Disease Area Lead Neurosciences at Pfizer, and the CFO at Varel Systems. Now, that's not bad for a group that didn't necessarily have the highest grade point average, but sure had a good time while they were in the WEMBA program, having a lot of fun. So connections like the ones you made here and at WEMBA are more important than ever today. And you're going to be using these to help you as you move your career along. But I think connections are also basic to families, to communities, and really in effective organizations. And I think that's what's actually enabling a lot of the connectivity through digital technology today. And just imagine what it's going to be like tomorrow. Now, I also think that kind of connection is absolutely essential to collaboration. And it's going to take that kind of collaboration, frankly, to solve some of these very difficult issues that all of us are facing today. Now, there's no silver bullet, but we need the best of you, the best of everybody, everywhere, and having that kind of collaboration from diverse, different perspectives that Tom was talking about earlier, I think is going to be the catalyst for really the step changes that we're going to need to solve some of the issues affecting humanity in spite of the immense challenges and opportunities before us. Now, I'm also sure you're going to be transforming your career and your life. But don't stop there. That's not enough. Change your business, change your industry, think bold, think how you can impact the world. This city right here in Philadelphia has got a tremendous history of revolution. You can't walk the streets anywhere here without absorbing the heritage and your career and your community and your life. I hope that you too are going to live up to that revolutionary spirit, where you're going to be willing to put it at risk, you, perhaps the team around you, everything that you've done for a principle that you think is really important, concepts like freedom, opportunity, and equality. I think that kind of spirit should resonate in all of us. And I think more than anything, the world needs leadership. And it's not the I'm in charge kind of leadership, but leadership with a purpose. And that's every country, every company, every community. We need leadership with a purpose more than ever before. So the question I'd pose to you is, what kind of leader are you going to be? I've had a chance to meet some great leaders and some not so good leaders along the way. And I hope every one of you will be a great leader. We certainly need that. Now, great leaders are not necessarily heroes. They're not necessarily overly charismatic or self-absorbed, but you know in a second who they are. They're the people who touch us, help organizations, and they help us be better than we ever thought we were capable of only on our own. And from my observations and experiences, business leadership is not a singular talent. It's not a narrow missile silo that suddenly launches you into stardom, and it starts by being a whole person, because you can't be a great leader if you're not a whole person. It takes a 360-degree developed human being, in fact. Because what I find is leadership today, it doesn't put you on a pedestal, but it's likely to put you in a fishbowl on a pedestal where everyone's going to be watching. You know, it's everything you say, everything you do is likely going to be scrutinized. And the best leaders that I've seen, they lead by example. They say, you know, watch, don't only listen to what I say, but do what I do. They inspire others. I mean, just taking the advice of Mike Useem, who I'm sure you had in class, you know, every move you make is scrutinized for its meaning, its performance, and its adequacy. And as we see again and again in business and politics and community, leadership makes a difference. And also, it's critical to have that balance in your life. You know, balance is stability for a leader, for you as a person. It's going to help you develop the soft skills that I would argue are probably more important than a lot of the hard skills that you've honed here. And as a leader, you're going to be responsible not only for what you're doing, but what for a lot of other people are doing, for motivating, rallying, inspiring, challenging, and changing enterprises, organizations, companies, and teams. You're going to be asking them to do more with less, more than they thought they were probably aware of. And they don't want to necessarily do it just for more money, but they want to be part of something great like you. They want to really be able to make a difference. And recognize that you can do well by doing good. Now, that's not just altruistic feel-good advice that you do at a graduation, but I think it's a requirement in the new age. In fact, you know, if you listen to Professor Adam Grant right here at Wharton, as he talks about recognizing you can't succeed without a purpose, and to serve others, you need to serve others first. Now, the work you do is going to be hard, but that doesn't mean it's not worth doing. Now, I'm fortunate to be part of a company with about a 127-year track record of being pretty successful. We fall down from time to time, but we try to pull ourselves back up, which I think you'll need to do as well. And I think it shows that you can do well by doing good, but in fact, I think you've got to do good in order to do well. Now, I'd also be remiss, before I get into some of the other closing comments, if I didn't take a minute just to encourage you to give back to Penn. Now, I realize a lot of them are probably sitting up here on stage and saying, I haven't even gotten off the stage yet, and you're already hitting me up for the college. And yes, I would hit you up financially. I think that's certainly important. But there are so many other ways you can also give back to this great institution. You know, I'm very fortunate I get a chance to talk in Mike Useem's class and the Vagelos program a couple times a year. I've had a chance to mentor and sponsor a lot of people through the WEMBA program, and I'd encourage you to do the same. There are many ways that you can give back, and in fact, the university needs you to do that, to keep the spirit alive and to pass on to the next generation. And I think that's what's really going to create lasting value and success for you and for your sponsors. And if your company doesn't have that great heritage, then start it. Now, something else that I've learned is the importance of health and wellness. And I think it's a critical part of your career. Now, you might be saying, well, that's odd for, the CEO of one of the world's largest healthcare products. And what I would say is it would be fine with me if you didn't ever have to use any of our pharmaceutical products or our medical devices. And it starts by prevention. It starts by taking care of yourself. And we've got a lot of experience showing that a healthy individual is not only happier, but they're more productive, more secure. And the same thing for a company. If you have a healthy company, people are going to feel more secure. They're going to be more involved in the community, in the world, be able to give back. And when I can tell you from my own personal experience, having just got off not too long ago, a 20-hour flight from Saigon, the world and the roles you're going to do are tough. They're challenging. They're going to demand a lot of you. You're going to lose sleep. You're going to have a lot of chicken dinners. You're going to be under a lot of stress. There'll be things pulling you. And what you don't want to do is become so singularly focused on your career that you sacrifice your health. And then just when you're ready to grab that brass ring, it slips you by because your body's not ready to jump. So take care of yourself. I think wellness, in fact, I say fitness, I take it very seriously, and I think you should too, for you, but also for your families and your communities. And lead by example. You don't need to run marathons or triathlons, but take the time to take care of yourself on a daily basis, whatever it is. Walk your dog if your dog likes you. Do yoga. Find time to relax. But do something that you enjoy that keeps you healthy, strong, engaged, and balanced, and full of energy. Now, I mentioned 3 important decisions that helped shape my career: choosing to be part of West Point, being in the Army, my time here at Wharton, and certainly joining Johnson & Johnson. But the most important decision, the wisest one I ever made, was asking my bride, my wife, Pat, to marry me. You know, Pat and our son Nick, who's a proud graduate here at Wharton, and you know, they let me know that I'm not the CEO at home. They make sure I check that title at the door. They keep me grounded and balanced, and I think balance is a really important part of wellness. I know each of you has had a family and friends that have supported you, so now's the time to really thank them. Spend an extra time, particularly over the coming weeks and months, doing the things that, frankly, you didn't have a chance to do. Make sure you spend time, quality time with them. And I know you, like me, 17 years ago, although you've accomplished a lot and are very excited, you're probably also sitting there thinking, okay, now what am I going to do when I really grow up? So what I want to do is I'd ask you to take seriously what Thomas Jefferson said right here in Philadelphia more than 2 centuries ago, and said, do you want to know who you are? Don't ask, act. Action will delineate and define you. So I encourage all of you to use the experience that you've gained here over the past 2 years, the friends you've made, the skills you've learned as a catalyst to fundamentally change your future. Never again are you going to have this kind of opportunity to consider new options, to reinvent yourself, take on new responsibilities, change things in the system like you have today. Carpe diem, seize the day. So as I congratulate you, I also challenge you, don't ask, act. The world is waiting. The world needs your leadership. Thank you.